Good morning, everyone. Here's your Eastern Idaho weather and planning briefing for Friday, February 5th. That northwest flow, it's going to remain over us for the next several days. For today, we have this next little wave coming in, so increasing snow, especially in some of our higher elevations. Some gusty winds today. Whether or not we see those gusty winds extend in the areas where we've had snow recently or snow today, a little bit of a question on that, especially around the edges of the Snake Plain, but it will be also windy across the Snake Plain in general, so if you're driving a larger vehicle, that might be an issue. Otherwise, heading into the weekend and into the early part of next week, breezy and occasional light precipitation, but that'll really be winding down once we get into Monday and Tuesday. Here's that little surge moving in right now across the area today, that little surge in moisture. But you see that northwest flow, and we've got moisture streaming over the top of the ridge. That occasionally when we see those increases in moisture, that's when we see a little better chance of snow across our area. Might even try to rain a little bit at times across the lower elevations. It's all about temperatures being warm, and a lot of times when we see precipitation start as rain, if it cools off enough, it might try to mix with snow. Kind of in that little zone there where it could be snow, it could be a mix, or even just a little bit of all rain across the lowest elevations with these particular events coming up. Like I said, for today, the eastern and southeastern highlands, that snow and wind, that snow falling in several areas could create some, with the wind, some blowing and drifting snow. Across the South Hills and the Snake Plain and the Magic Valley, it's not necessarily about the precipitation falling, it's about the stronger winds coming for today. Lighter snow and less impacts once you get into portions of the Central Mountains. Maybe just a tad bit more snow for the Sawtooth and portions of Limhi County, especially once you get up towards Lost Trail Pass and west of Highway 93. For tomorrow, we're looking at some lighter snow continuing, maybe just a slight nod towards a little bit more impact across the southeast and eastern highlands, but certainly not what we're looking for today. And you can see the trend of less snow going into the early part of next week, but you notice this pattern is going to remain on the breezy side, and do expect that trend to continue through at least Monday. Still breezy a few spots Tuesday, but definitely not as breezy as we'll see at times over the weekend. So here's how things will look for today. We've got the precipitation falling in the highlands and into the Central Mountains. The issue is going to be we've got that northwest flow, and sometimes we get a little bit of snow that develops away from the bench areas out into right along the interstate corridor, or just to the north and west of it, all the way from I-15 down 84 and 86. That's a very highly variable spot for seeing precipitation at all. It could be just a dusting of snow. It could be a light mix of rain and snow, or it may just not even try to accumulate or actually fall in those areas. And mainly once you get into the middle and higher benches along the Snake Plain in those areas. Just something to keep in the back of your mind. But definitely precipitation in the southern and eastern highlands and into the Central Mountains where northwest flow favors accumulating snow and precipitation. So we go through this morning, you'll notice we see some of that trying to develop out away from the bench areas along 84 and 86 up towards Rexburg, and maybe just some very light precipitation trying to spill out across the Magic Valley. But you'll notice for most of the day and most of this event, a good chunk of the Snake Plain, the Arco Desert, those areas, it's just going to be flat out breezy today. Nothing will fall. So we go into this afternoon, you'll notice things really dying down mid to late afternoon. It looked like yesterday things might hold on a little bit longer, but things are really going to start ramping down once we get into later in the afternoon and the early evening hours. And as we go through the nighttime hours, we're pretty much going to be at least seeing very little, if any, precipitation. There might be a few lingering pockets of light snow in the mountains, but it is going to remain breezy. That's the key. Even in the overnight hours, we're going to have some to deal with some wind in some areas. So for today, you can see once you get out into the plain, not much snow falling. You get into the benches around Pocatello, up towards Ammon, up towards Rexburg, maybe an inch or two. That could easily be cut in half depending on if the snow extends back a little bit to the north and to the west. But you can see much of the eastern and southeastern highlands, the higher elevations, seeing 4 to 6, maybe a few spots a little bit higher than that. We might see some spots actually approaching 12 inches in very localized spots. You can see in the Central Mountains, most of the snow falling west of Highway 93 in Limhi County. Also into the Sawtooth, seeing a couple of inches of snow there. Also the Limhi Range and the Lost River Range as well. And there are those gusty winds, some of those gusts hitting near 40 miles per hour. And where we get that in with the snow falling today, or even some of the snow that fell recently, there might be some blowing and drifting conditions expected. In this afternoon, you can see that snow falling, shifting to the south and to the east. So like I said, some of these areas in the eastern highlands for totals, some of the higher elevations could push closer to 12 inches. That'll probably be mainly the higher elevations of the big holes over in the Tetons and also in the Bear River Range, but you can see precipitation letting up elsewhere across the area, and those wind gusts even picking up stronger this afternoon, especially once you get over into the Magic Valley, the southern highlands, some of the higher elevations of the central mountains. We're talking gusts over 40 miles per hour this afternoon. For this afternoon, because of the winds and all this mixing going on today, temperatures in many areas are going to pop up above freezing if you're not already there this morning and staying in the 40s. Stanley 31, Chalice should be above freezing this afternoon. But in the eastern highlands, where we have more snow falling, more cloud cover, temperatures hovering in the 20s to just right around the freezing mark for this afternoon. Just some very lingering light snow across the southern and eastern highlands. Wind gusts starting to ramp down except in the central mountains and into areas west of Pocatello into the south hills, into the Magic Valley, Treasure Valley, but still gusting about 30 to 40 miles an hour. Not much precipitation going on overnight. Like I said, a few spots could just pick up some very light snow or flurries, but those winds really let up overnight. But you'll notice in some areas they're still gusting 25, 35 miles per hour. The next little surge of moisture moves in tomorrow morning and into the day tomorrow. Just some very light precipitation in the highlands, generally along and east of I-15 over into around the Tetons. Maybe a little light snow up at Lost Trail Pass. Wind gusts in the morning, still somewhat breezy, but definitely weaker than we're seeing for today. Temperatures in the morning where it's breezy, staying closer to freezing elsewhere in the single digits and teens into the lower 20s. And the upslope flow, that northwest flow signature, not much going on except maybe some accumulations around Palisades, the big holes up in the mountains in the Island Park area. Also some very light snow in the central mountains on up towards the Lost Trail Pass. Winds do ramp up again tomorrow afternoon, some gusts 30 to 40 miles per hour, and it will be a bit cooler, especially once you get in the central mountains, the upper Snake Plain, the eastern highlands, but still into the 40s, Pocatello back towards Jerome and Twin Falls. And for tomorrow evening, still some lingering light snow in the eastern and southeastern highlands and the central mountains. Winds will be slowly ramping down tomorrow. Sunday, any accumulation, again, same areas we've been talking about the past few days, and gusts still there, coming down a little bit still, but still breezy. Temperatures along the 84-86 corridor closer to freezing. Elsewhere, everyone will be much, much colder. And temperatures starting to come down a bit, but still above freezing over much of the lower Snake Plain into the Magic and Treasure Valley, down into the South Hills. And less snow even on Monday. Winds Sunday night into Monday will be on the decrease, but still a bit breezy because the winds are coming down. A little bit less cloud cover at night. We're going to see temperatures pretty much below freezing everywhere, and highs on Monday coming down. Where we've been closer to above freezing across portions of the Snake Plain, it will be below freezing until you get down towards Pocatello, American Falls, back towards Jerome. Still about 35 to 40 degrees. And on Tuesday, that trend will continue with just slightly cooler temperatures in the afternoon, much colder for Tuesday morning. So once again, this northwest flow is not going away. We have a little better surge of snow and wind for today. It's going to be breezy over the weekend with some occasional light precipitation, mainly snow, over portions of the central mountains and the eastern highlands. If you have any questions, do give us a call. Otherwise, have a great day, have a great weekend, and stay safe out there, everyone.